Hello, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your questions. So put your questions in the comments now so that I can answer your questions. The last time I was here, I promised that I would be on only to focus on your questions. So go ahead and start putting those questions in the comments now before I have to go. So I have about 20 minutes. Actually, we have about 15 minutes. So put your questions in the comments. I'm going to scroll through. Hi there, Star Girl, and answer your questions. And now, one question that comes up a lot in consultations is, can I get the work permit? Because that's what I do, is I help clients to get the work permit. So if you want to find out if getting a work permit is something you can do, you can also put that in the comments. Now, I'm not giving personalized legal advice, but I can at least point you in the right direction and let you know whether or not certain circumstances can qualify you for the work permit. So please go ahead, put those comments in. I'm starting now. How long to get a work permit after applying? I'm waiting for 50 days now after biometrics. So it depends on what kind of application you're applying for, because there are varying different types of applications that do get you the work permit. If you are applying based on family based, then you could be looking at 3 to 6 months. So you're still, under that 3 to 6 month estimate. If you're applying for VAWA, it's anywhere from 6 months to 12 months. On average, I see about 8 months to get the work permit. If it is, for example, T status, then you're looking at after approval of the T status, which is about 6 months to up to 18 months after, depending on what what is the complexity of your application and do they have additional questions before applying. Asylum is after 180 days. So as you can see, work permits come for different applications. They have different processing times. So it's going to depend here, but I hope I at least called one of those applications. All right. I am traveling with my AP to my home country with my citizen son. Do they cannot allow me to re-enter, and what's going to happen to my son? Now, if you have advanced parole, it is there to let you back into the country after you travel. Yes, the risk is never zero that they could possibly deny you entry coming back. So you want to plan for that. And then, a part of planning is it worth taking that risk? I'm not your attorney, so I wouldn't be able to give you specific advice on the risk involved here, but it's important for you, if you're represented by an attorney, to definitely have that conversation with the attorney, get the attorney's opinion on your risk level. And when it comes on to your child, then that would have to be based on your planning. You can take your child with you or keep your child with you. They're not going to take away your son if that's what you're. At least they're not supposed to take away your child. However, if you're thinking about you have to stay in your country, your son has to stay here, then if in the worst case scenario, you need to plan for such a situation. How does the 3-5 year rule go when applying for N400? 3 years if you're married to a US citizen. At the time you're applying for citizenship, you still need to be living in marital union to get that 3 year benefit, 3 years after you're approved for your green card. 5 years is basically everybody else. And there's even a 1 year, sometimes even 6 months if you're in the military. So keep that one in mind. All right. If a person overstays on their B2 visa, how can they apply for a work permit? So this is exactly one of the things that I do assist clients with. But keep in mind, overstaying is not what gets you the work permit. You still do have to qualify in some way to get the work permit. And what I do is I look for forms of relief or benefits that a client can qualify for to get the work permit. So this is where it's very important to schedule an appointment and let's talk. But overstaying alone is not what qualifies you here. Remember, overstaying is an immigration violation and it can get very uncertain, scary, miserable, very isolating to be here without your papers. And that's why I help immigrants who are in this situation to try to fix it. But I, in my, for example, in my past lives, I've talked over and over and over again about how we were able to find solutions for these clients through, different avenues, through family. Once you overstay, you can't get it through employment. So that's why you're not hearing me say employment here, but through family, through VAWA, through T, through asylum, through U visa, and in some cases, even through deferred action, if you qualify for that. Deferred action is asking for special permission to stay here. So schedule an appointment. Let's talk. If a person's green card and I-601 was denied about 5 years now because of misrepresentation, can the person's daughter refile for her? Now, keep in mind, the daughter can file, but when it comes on to applying for misrepresentation, has a permanent bar, unfortunately. And so, when you're applying for, you still do have to apply for the I-601 waiver. You have to have qualifying relatives to qualify. Your U.S. citizen daughter is not going to help qualify you here. When it comes to having a violation like this and asking for forgiveness, you have to have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, spouse, or parent. Children don't count here. The hardships of the children don't count here. So, but schedule an appointment. Let's talk, and we can figure something out here and see if something will work. If my driver's license have a different address but same state, is it a red flag for marriage-based interview? Absolutely, yes, it is. So you want to make sure that you can explain why is it that you have a different address on your driver's license. If you haven't updated your driver's license address yet, sometimes that happens where it's just the last thing that gets updated after you move. Make sure you do that. Just simply update it to your marital home so that you don't run into any problems. How long does it take to petition for my 18-year-old son? He's already here in the US. So the first thing is your 18-year-old son is here, but what's his status? Is he out of status? Because that's very relevant here. Has he already overstayed? If he's already overstayed and you're a permanent resident, that's a big deal. And there's a wait list right now, and you're not able to petition for them to get the green card while staying here. It's complex, but you want to definitely get legal advice depending on what the situation is. If you're a US citizen, your son is 18, then you can petition for your son and to adjust status here. You don't know, they are considered children until they're 21, right? So if they're under 21, it's still a faster process, and you could see your green card in 6 to 12 months. But as I said before, these are complex issues and it depends on your circumstances. So this is where it's very important to get legal advice. Can I apply for T visa if financially abused? So financial abuse is very much a part of T status. However, we do have to go through a detailed evaluation to determine whether the facts of financial abuse amount to trafficking. Because when we're talking about the T visa, it doesn't mean that every abuse victim gets to apply for T visa as a victim of trafficking. Usually, when it comes to this, there has to be a certain equation, right? You have to be in a situation you really don't want to be in, but you feel forced to be in that situation. You're afraid to leave because of somebody else, maybe imposing, maybe they're making statements, maybe they're making threats, maybe they've created an environment where it's hard for you to leave. Then that could be a form of trafficking. Doesn't matter who it is. If you have those circumstances, then we need to talk. So, Michael, if you feel like this is a situation where you need help, go ahead and schedule the appointment and let's talk. Um, how long, how let me go. So I'm trying. How long does it take to? Okay, I answered that. After getting work permit, how long after will the green card get approved? So the green card isn't conditional on the work permit being approved. So it just depends. But work permit doesn't indicate no, you're going to be approved for the green card. Could a mother bring younger daughter when her older U.S. citizen daughter filed for her? This here is one of those heartbreaking scenarios that I see, and I feel like it's a big overlooked hole in the immigration law, and that is when as an adult citizen son or daughter is petitioning for their parent, and the parent has a minor child, that minor child cannot be included in the application. They will not be given any benefits to join the parent in the US. And the US citizen sibling cannot, they can petition for the younger sibling, but guess what? It's a 14-year process. So in cases like that, it really comes down to strategy, figuring out what is best, how to move forward, what are the circumstances involved in regards to that minor child. This may involve the parent possibly asking permission to stay outside of the US to continue to care for their minor child until you come up with a solution here. So all right. You are welcome. Thanks so much, Diwali, for that. I appreciate that. Um, how can you go about a work permit? What do you need to get? All right. So work permits come with different types of applications for benefits, immigration benefits, or forms of relief. So, what do you need to do? You need to qualify for one of those. But it would take me possibly the entire week to cover those topics, which I do extensively. So, if you follow me, you'll see I talk about ways to do that. But qualifying for the work permit is not going to be simply clicking, it's not simply clicking on the link to the work permit forms, printing them, filling them out, sending them in. You do have to make sure you qualify first. All right. Can auntie filing for me? I am in the US, so can an aunt file for you? No, an aunt can't file for you in that situation. If you were paroled into the US, can you get married? It depends on what kind of parole. If you got conditional parole where you're in immigration proceedings, but they released you on a type of conditional parole, that's not the type that gets you to go through the adjustment of status process. But if you got one that is issued, so usually based on humanitarian reasons, then yes, which a number of people who have come through the border have been paroled that way. And that does mean that they can show that they were allowed into the country and they're allowed to do adjustment of status if they qualify through marriage. My cousin got her work permit and SSN last July. How long for her to do the medical and interview? The medical can be done at any point. And sometimes they send an RFE, request for evidence, to get the medical. And if she sends a medical in, they may not even ask for the interview. It just depends on what case type this is. What if you never live with a spouse? Can you file for VAWA? So the very simple answer is no. There is a requirement. No, let me correct that. If you never lived with your spouse was in the military or worked for the government, then there's a way to get around that residence requirement that you lived with the spouse. Otherwise, you do need to show that you live with your spouse. Now, the length of time you lived with your spouse does not matter. So if, for example, I have had cases where the spouses, they were living together for a very short period of time. And within that short period of time, that's when the mistreatment emerged and they got out quickly. So they didn't live together for more than a week, because they had to leave the situation because they were being mistreated, which is the right thing to do. That is still considered living with the spouse. We just work with our clients to make sure we can show that. And there are different ways to show that. If there's no lease, joint lease, we can include it in the declaration, and we can also verify it through other individuals who witness that period of time where they stay together for that short period of time. Because when you think about it, VAWA is there to protect individuals from abuse, and so it's supposed to give people the flexibility to leave. It's not there to say force you to live with someone who's abusive so that you can apply for VAWA, right? So if you had to get out within a day, within 2 days of this marriage because you started to be mistreated, maybe they physically assaulted you in that very short time, then you can qualify for VAWA and you can still meet that requirement. We just have to work to get it done. Um, Okay, so my case has been dismissed. I transfer, reapply with asylum case with USCIS. Do I apply for 180 days or 150 days after I submit my asylum application? So I would have to look. So they right now the USCIS, they are working on making this easier for applicants. So I'd have to look at the regulations or the policies that they've issued. I do know that you can pick up, reapply for the asylum. However, when it comes to the EAD clock, I would have to look to see, do you have to start over that EAD clock, or do you have to? So I'll check on that, and then maybe in another live, I'll come and answer that question, because that is one of the logistical issues that they are sorting through right now. I had work permit on the J2 when I transitioned to H4. Can I apply to extend that original work permit? So it depends. No, it depends on how you got the work permit, because usually with the J2, you're not able to work on a work permit. So if you're H4, it depends on the circumstances on the and how you're getting that work permit. All right. Okay. I'm petitioning for my mother. Do I have to do a separate petition for my minor brother? Yes, you do. But keep in mind, petition for your minor brother is 14 years at minimum, depending on which country you're from. So you need to talk to an attorney. You can give us a call, schedule an appointment, and we can talk. How long after getting work permit does the GC usually get approved? There's no way to tell that. How long does it take to process I-601? So right now, it's very frustrating. We are looking at wait times of a year and a half to 2 years. So it is frustratingly long. How long it takes a T visa already approved to go through green card application. So generally, you have to wait for 3 years and then apply for the green card. It does take about 2.5 years, 2 years, a year and a half to 2 years to get the green card. However, keep in mind that there is also a way to apply early, after going through a process to ask for permission to apply early for the green card. So you can possibly get a head start there. Can I file for my dad if he's illiterate? You can file for your dad. Yes, as long as you qualify to file for your dad. But he will have a problem when he's going for citizenship. Can I travel with combo card? Says advance parole, green card pending. That's what it's there for. But just make sure you check on the risk factors in your particular case. Do I have to have a travel? Do I have to travel into the state my spouse is in on a spousal visa? Not necessarily. Now, if you're going to go to a completely different address, they may have some questions about that. They may ask you, why is it that you're entering in another state? They may ask those questions. Just be prepared to answer those questions. And make sure you're talking to your attorney. All right. Okay. So that's going to be it for me today. I'm going to be back again tomorrow. These are such good questions that I want to keep this going, right? So answer some questions. So tomorrow I'm going to just answer questions again. So please join me tomorrow. If I didn't get to answer your question, join me again and I can answer your question tomorrow. So thanks so much for your time. And I will see you tomorrow and we'll just talk about questions. It's usually between the times of 12 and 1 that I'm on. So look out for me at that time. Follow me so that you get notification when I'm live. When I'm live, just in case I have to go off of schedule, so you can see I'm live and hop on with me if you do have the time to do that. All right. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate your time and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.